In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this unique Thanksgiving Day centerpiece. I will show you how to make handmade leaves, and on the back, we'll stitch things that we're thankful for. I will also show you how to create our acorn characters, and I will also show how to create this little base here that the whole thing sits on in order to complete the look. So let's get started. In order to make the leaves and acorns for our Thanksgiving centerpiece, you're going to need the following items. You're going to need an assortment of fall color felt, and I like using the wool felt, but you can use craft felt as well. Make sure that one of them's a little light because this is going to be on the back of the leaf, and we want it light so we can see our embroidery. The rest of it, you can do any color that you like, and you really don't need that much depending on how many leaves you want. You can just use scraps. You're also going to need some ribbon, 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch in width. This is going to be the top so we can hang it on the tree. You're going to need some embroidery floss, the pattern pieces which you could download on our site, some fabric glue, pins and needles, scissors, and then you need your marking instruments. So now we're going to get started on cutting out what we need. For completing the rest of our centerpiece, you're also going to need some twigs, and I just found these in my yard and just taped them at the bottom in order to create an interesting shape. I have my stiff felt here, so this is a little bit stiffer than regular felt, and you can use any color that you want. I just cut it in an 8.5 inch diameter circle. I have my terracotta pot here. This is a 4-inch diameter pot. And then you're going to need some sort of substance to fill your pot with in order to make your twigs stand up straight. So that could be rocks, dirt, the green floral foam, anything that you have that'll work. On top, I have my decorative green moss that I just got at the craft store, but you can use decorative rocks or any other type of decoration that you want to use. And that's it for the rest of the supplies. I'm going to show you how to make one leaf and one acorn, but if you want to make more than one for your tree, just follow these same examples for all of them. So here we have our leaf pattern, and you'll see I'm cutting one out of my light color felt, and I have it on the fold. This is the middle of the leaf right here. So when I cut it out, I can make sure my leaf is going to be perfectly symmetrical. I'm also going to cut one out of my fall color. This is going to be the front of the leaf, so I'm going to do the green. For the acorn, here's my acorn pattern, and I'm going to cut 2 pieces out of this color felt, and then I'm going to cut one out of this little pattern piece right here, which is going to be the top of the acorn. So that's what's going to make our acorn two-tone in color, but I'm only just doing it for the front. That's why I'm only cutting out one. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out my pieces, and then we're going to work on sewing the back part of our leaf. I'm going to start with my light color leaf because this is going to be on the back, and I'm going to head in using my fabric marker in order to write something that I'm thankful for. And I use my marker because it makes it as a great guideline for when I'm stitching and I don't just have to do it on the fly. Now this base of the leaf is going to be where the ribbon is going to be attached. So this is how it's going to hang. So that's important to know so you do your writing the correct way and it doesn't end up upside down. So at the base at the top, you're just going to write something simple that you can stitch. So I'm going to write love. And then next shot, we're going to show how to stitch this using the back stitch. So I'm going to take my embroidery floss on a needle that's been knotted at the end, and I'm going to come up from underneath the leaf because we want the knot to be on the underside and for us not to see it. So I'm not starting at the very top of love. I'm starting a little ways in. Just going to pull it through, and now I'm going to go back to the top. And then I'm going to go a little bit ahead of that stitch, and then come back to my first stitch, just like that. So that's why it's called a back stitch, because you're moving backwards with each stitch. So now I'm just a little ahead of that second stitch and go back to that second stitch. So you're going to do this for each of your letters until it is complete. Here I've completed the stitching for the love, and now we're going to move on to the front of the leaf. And all I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to take my chalk or any fabric marker you have, and I'm just going to draw my leaf veins. So it kind of gives me a guideline of where I'm going to do my next stitches. You could just do a couple little offshoots like this. So we'll get a little bit closer to show you how we're going to be stitching this with a running stitch. To do the running stitch, you're again going to take your knotted embroidery floss on your needle. You're going to come up from underneath so that the knot will be hidden underneath the leaf. And then you're going to go down through your leaf just a little bit in front of where you came up. That's your first stitch. And then you're going to come up again a little ways away from that stitch so that there's a small gap in between. And then go back down. And as you can see, there's a gap in between these two stitches. So I'm going to do the same thing up here. And then go back down like that. So I'm going to do this for all of the lines where I have chalk. And once that's done, we're then going to work on putting our two leaves together. Here I have the back of my leaf with the wrong side facing up, and I'm just going to use a little bit of fabric glue in order to attach my ribbon that I have right here, which is going to be the loop at the bottom of the leaf so we can hang it on the tree. And the ribbon's about 3 inches. I'm just going to attach one end like this, and then get a little bit more glue here, and I'm going to attach the other ribbon like this. And then I'll bring this loop up like this. Now it'll hold, but it just needs to hold temporarily so it'll stay in place for when we sew the other part. I'm going to get a little bit more glue here and just attach a little bit of glue on my leaf. And I'm doing this, ooh, it's goopy. I don't need much. So now I can take my top of the leaf, place it over here so it should match pretty well. And then we're going to then hold this. So now we're going to be able to stitch around the leaf and not worry about it shifting on us. It should match pretty well. If it doesn't, I know it's kind of hard to cut everything out perfectly so that it matches. You can just trim a little bit if it's the light color part of the leaf is showing a little bit more than you would like, but that's fine. For the edging of this leaf, we're going to be doing a blanket stitch, which I've already started right here. And to do it, you're going to come up from underneath, so the light brown color just right on the edge here, and come up to the green. In doing so, you're going to be creating a loop. See a loop right there? I'm going to be going through that loop like that, and then pull it. So that's our first stitch. So again, from the light brown to the green, create the loop, go through the loop, pull it. Brown to green, create the loop, and go through the loop, and then pull it. So we're going to be doing this all the way around our leaf so then it's properly edged and looks really neat, just like that. Here we have the completed leaf that's been edged all the way around. And you'll see right here where my ribbon is, I just did a straight stitch going across it because you can't go over where the ribbon is. So that keeps the ribbon secure and also keeps it looking nice and neat. So now we're going to move on to the acorn. So just as you did with the back of the leaf, you're then going to use your fabric marker to mark your little face. If you don't want to do a face, it's fine. You could just leave it blank. But if you want to do a face, it turns out really cute. There's my little face. And I have other examples of faces you can do. And again, I'm just doing a back stitch in order to mark out my design. There's one. There's another. And for her lips, I just use a little bit of felt that I cut out, and then I use my fabric glue to glue it on. Once you have that, just as you did with the leaf, you're then going to take your other side and you're going to put it on top, and then you're going to do your edge stitching, and don't forget to put your ribbon here at the top. And for the acorns, I like to use the 1/8 inch ribbon just because the acorns are a little bit smaller. So you have that, that's probably best. But then you're just going to do the blanket stitch all the way around, and I'm going to finish completing that, and I'm going to show you how to do the top of the acorn. If you want to add a little extra dimension to your acorn, you can add a little bit of stuffing in it. Just make sure that you haven't glued your back to your front. You're just going to hold it as you stitch it. So I've already stitched all the way around this bottom part of the acorn, leaving this top part open. And then just a little bit of polyester stuffing is going to go right in there. Just makes it pop out a little bit more. And then you're just going to hold it close and then continue sewing all the way around again. So that'll make your acorn look a little bit more round. For the top of my acorn, I like to do giant cross stitches just to give it an interesting looking texture. So again, with my embroidery floss, I'm going to start from underneath, coming up and going down at an angle. And then coming up again on top of that last point, just in a sense creating an X. Like that. See how it looks like an X? And then I'm going to come up next to it, and I'm going to do a series of these. So all along the top, I'm just going to create a bunch of X's. And of course, with the top of the acorn becoming wider, my X's are going to become bigger. So then once that's done, we'll be ready to attach this to the top of the rest of our acorn in order to finish off our acorn. And then we'll be ready to create the rest of our tree centerpiece. The only thing left to do for this acorn is add a little bit of glue up here at top, my fabric glue. And then I'm going to stick on the top, just like that. And there you have a completed acorn for our tree. If you want to make the base that the pot rests on, all you need to do is make 4 of the leaves, and I did 4 different colors. I also did the running stitch, and you don't have to worry about doing the back of the leaf, we're just doing the front. And then I cut out a circle out of stiff felt, so it's not as flimsy, but you can go ahead and use the regular felt if you want. And this is about 8.5 in diameter, and all I did is just use my fabric glue and glue them into place. So it's really that easy. The last thing we need to get is we need to get our twigs for making our tree, and I just used ones that I found in my yard. I have a 4-inch diameter terracotta pot, and in order to put our twigs in our pot, you can use the green floral foam, rocks, dirt, whatever you have in order to make the twigs stick out. And then I just topped it with some green moss that I found at the craft store. You can also use decorative rocks, whatever you want. And once that's done, it's ready for us to start hanging our leaves and our acorn. Here we have the completed Let's Give Thanks Thanksgiving Day centerpiece. So we've added the leaves, we've added the acorns. It looks cute and it's perfect for your Thanksgiving Day table.